ከቨር ይታያችኋል። እሱን አውጡት ኬብሉን አታች ለማድረግ for the par sensor to attach the cable እሱ ጋር ነጩ ከታች ያለው ነጭ ፓርት አለ አይደል? እሱ መውጣት አለበት። አዎ በሁለት ብሎኖች አሉ እሱን ያያያዙት። እሱ ከወጣ በኋላ እንትኑ የሴንሰሩ ኬብል የሚሰካበት ግልጽ ይሆናል። መፍቻ አለ። Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now you should see these connectors. One of them is labeled PAR, P-A-R. Another is labeled T1 and T2. So the external quantum sensor that you just installed has a cable, and that needs to go and plug into the one labeled PAR. So the cable coming from your external quantum sensor needs to go plug into the one labeled PAR. Okay, so you have a cable coming from your external quantum sensor. It needs to run down and plug into the one labeled PAR. Okay, so you have it plugged in?
No, you guys, you have to attach the two screws, yeah. You have to attach to the side of the handle. You have to attach the sensor, yes. Yes. And now, once you attach, then you can plug it in. አስቸገረን።
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Very
The
good.
other cable that you need to worry about is with your fluorometer chamber, there is a thermocouple that measures leaf temperature, and it follows and plugs in either to the one labeled T1 or T2, either one, it doesn't matter. But just make sure that it's nice and plugged in as well. It should be already, but it's good to double check. It goes into either T1 or T2.
Yeah. T1 is plugged as it is.
Okay, great. That's it. So while we're talking about the sensor head, I did want to discuss clamping. So you can see if you press the handle, the chamber goes in multiple orientations. So there's 3 different positions for the handle. One position completely closes the chamber. So you see how the gaskets are touching and sealed. If you press the handle again, the chamber opens up completely. If you press the handle again, you'll notice it goes into what we call a park position. In a park position, there is a slight gap between the top and bottom chamber. And this is the position that we recommend storing the chamber in. So when you're done for the day, you're done taking
How
measurements.
many times we press it?
I saw it. I thought not going outside. How come that?
Is there a question?
Yeah, ምን ያህል ጊዜ ነው የምንጫነው ከላይ እንትኑን ሳይ?
It should be like a click, you know. It's not a long press or a long hold. It's just click, click. Watch what she's doing.
So it doesn't open.
Let's see your chamber. Can you move it so we can see the side of your sensor head?
በጎን አዙሩት እስቲ እንዲታይ።
Yeah.
And can you,
Yeah. Hel-
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and squeeze the chamber. Squeeze the handle. Okay, I think the gaskets are sticking because they've been closed for so long. So gently pry the 2 halves apart. So gently pry them apart.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that and see if they come apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they've been stored for so long, these are special gaskets that you have installed. We call these, they tend to want to stick to each other. And what you've done right now is you've actually pulled out the top aperture. So if you look at my chamber, I'll show you, I can do that too. Flip it out. And then the top aperture comes out, which is what you've done with your chamber. Right now, your chamber looks like this. So this aperture, it has an O-ring seal on it. And it should stay in the upper part of the chamber. But because your chamber's been closed so long, these 2 white gaskets have stuck to each other. So you need to pry this part off. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's sticky around here.
Yep, you'll have to use your fingers and get it off.
Yeah. ፈልቅቆ ማለያየት ነው እንግዲህ።
You have to separate them. Those white gaskets want to stick to each other. Yay, good job. Okay, so this is happening now because the instruments have been stored for a couple of years without using them. But this possible to break it. We do have spares in your spare parts kit if you do break it, but it's something that you should try to avoid if you can. So again, kind of use your fingers and position that O-ring so it's about 1 millimeter above the surface of the gasket. Those of you who have used the 6400 before, this is a similar process that you would have used with the 6400. Okay, once you have positioned that, then you can go ahead and close your chamber. We will come back and talk a little bit more about the chamber in the maintenance section on the last day. But one other thing I'd like to mention is you do have additional apertures. So the one that we're using today is 6 square centimeters. Your chamber comes with smaller apertures as well. The fluorometer has a 2 square centimeter aperture, and basically you can take these apertures out just like you did to put it in. You just pop it out and put the new one in. With other chambers, we have different apertures. I know that a couple of your instruments were sold with the 3x3 chamber, and it has its own light source. It also has apertures, and there's different sizes of apertures depending on where you have. So you can switch chambers and have different sizes and shapes of apertures that you can use. And we'll explain why this is important in a little bit. Okay. Other parts of your sensor head I just want to point out before we move on, as we're talking about hardware. On the handle, you'll notice you have some buttons, and you'll also notice a display. My instrument is turned on right now, so I see something here. Yours hasn't been turned on yet, so you're not going to see anything here. The central button can be used as a log button. So when you're ready to log a data point, there's a button in the software that will show you that you can log, or you can press this button here. So if you are working with the instrument and maybe your console's over there and you're over here, you can log a data point just by pressing that log button rather than using the one on the console. So that's a handy thing to have. The other buttons allow you to change this display. So we have a set of default displays depending on what chamber you have installed, and you can scroll through those by using your right and left arrows, and those can be really convenient as you start to take measurements. So I just wanted to point that out before we moved on. Okay. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this chamber right now, and yours as well, has probably black springs on the chamber. There's a black spring on both sides of the chamber. The way the chamber clamps on a leaf is it uses tension, and the amount of tension that's used is determined by what spring you have installed. By default, we ship instruments with this spring. If you find that when you go and clamp on your leaf, if you notice the chamber crushes your leaf, maybe you're working with a more delicate leaf, we actually have other springs that you can use. I believe we include them in your spare parts kit. We have one that is the white spring, and it has less tension. So if you find a problem where you clamp on and it crushes your leaf, you can actually switch out these springs 2 ones with a